G'day, my name is Mick Stallone from Sydney Hi-Fi at Mona Vale. Today I'm joined by Jack Sarkisian of Synergy Audio Visual. We'll be discussing and setting up the Rega RP10 turntable. I hope you enjoy the video. Cheers. A question.
Yes.
Jack from Synergy Audio.
Yes.
The reason why Rega have made the skeletal design?
To basically remove weight.
Okay, so they wanted to make it lighter.
The lighter the better as far as they're concerned, but still remaining very, very rigid.
Yeah. Alright, so the RP8, the RP10, there are some differences between the two models?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, what's
there are.
The main difference?
Main difference is the power supply and Tonearm. Other than that, they are they're virtually identical. So they use the same plinth, they use the same brace, same motor, same subplatter, same cables, but the difference is the power supply and Tonearm. And essentially the main difference with that, the power supply with the RP10, it removes virtually all the vibration from the 24 volt motor. And that's its primary function. It's also extremely stable in its speed, so 33 1/3 and 45 are absolutely spot on.
Okay, so the power supply removes vibrations from the motor.
Yes.
In terms of the unit itself, it being so light, is there any additional vibration management other than the legs on the actual chassis of the RP10?
No, actually. As you can see, it's a very, very basic shape and design. Exceptionally stiff with the bracing from the Tonearm to the main bearing.
And that sandwich,
that sandwich is actually top and bottom, yeah. Okay. So, and it's also under tension as well. And that's the part that needs to be extremely rigid, so there's no movement between the Tonearm and the bearing, because obviously that will affect how well the cartridge tracks the groove, or how well, sorry, the stylus tracks the groove.
Okay, so the dense mass is used in turntables.
Yes, it is.
A lot of brands.
Yes, it is.
They make them bigger, thicker, heavier, and they use that to manage the vibrations.
Yes.
Rega making such a light, it's incredibly light.
Yes.
Making such a light base for the turntable as well, and no other form of vibration management other than the feet.
Yes, and it actually works. There are also optional rigid feet which work a little bit better again.
Okay, so you can actually get different feet.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I wasn't aware of that.
Solid aluminium. So it's actually a very rigid coupling. With all the measurements Rega has done over the past 40 years, they find that the lighter and more rigid something is, the less prone it is to vibration. Okay. It doesn't store energy. Heavy mass stores more energy, but at a lower frequency.
Okay. That's always been a point of difference between the Rega turntable
and virtually everyone else.
And everyone else, As they get more expensive, they get less and lighter, which is bizarre. Having the external base with the skeletal design, is there any advantage in keeping the base on it? I know there's somewhere for the legs to sit. It's actually making contact.
No. There's only little rubber bands that help to locate the feet into that slot, but it actually makes no contact. It's only there to hold the lid if you want to use the lid. So no other reason.
Okay, great. So it looks great the way it is.
Yeah.
If you want to have the lid.
I agree.
Put it on the base.
I agree.
All right. Okay, so the pairing of the turntable with the Platter cartridge.
Yes.
Okay. What made them create this cartridge? It is. It's beautiful in its own right.
Yes, it is.
You can see straight through it.
That's correct.
It would be an incredibly laborious task.
It is, and again, this is all hand manufactured in Rega's factory. I've seen it done. There's one gentleman has the hands of a surgeon that actually winds all the coils, and the wire that they use is much thinner than a human hair. So it is a very, very precise, very fine art to build, and it is very different from everyone else's moving coil cartridge, the way it's designed. So it is a proprietary design as well.
Okay, so this is made with a moving coil cartridge.
Yes.
Is moving coil recommended with this turntable?
Oh, absolutely. The detail that this turntable can resolve, I don't think a moving magnet would do it justice, purely because the moving mass for that cartridge is so heavy, it doesn't respond as well as the turntable can do. So I wouldn't consider putting a moving magnet cartridge on this turntable, no.
All right. the main parts of the turntable, obviously the power supply is incredibly important.
Yes.
Right, you've got the ceramic platter.
It's a ceramic platter on this.
Explain how that is made, because that's quite important.
Okay, it's basically aluminium oxide, powdered aluminium oxide. It's put into a mould and pressed. When it's made, it's about 20% oversize. They then put it into a kiln to fire it and harden it, and that obviously causes it to shrink. And then the final few percent, it's actually machined to its final dimensions. All the rough edges are removed, and the tolerance on this is incredibly fine. And again, as you'll notice, it's quite heavy on the outside but quite thin in the middle, so putting more weight on the outside of it basically provides more of a flywheel effect, so the speed is far more stable as well. Yes, and the reason why they use this is that it's such a hard substance. It doesn't resonate, it doesn't hold any vibration. Incredibly expensive to manufacture though.
Yeah, okay. And a lot of people don't realise it too, that a lot of people think the motor is there to spin the record. Really, the motor is to sort of get the momentum happening.
Exactly.
The accuracy of the platter is going to maintain that speed.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the motor will only just top up if required, but it's really the platter that keeps the stability correct.
Yeah, which is the importance of the way it's manufactured, the material it's made from.
That's correct.
And it has to be incredibly accurate, because if there's any sort of variance in any depth or thickness from one side to the other side, it will start to...
It'll wobble, it'll be out of balance, absolutely.
So really
absolutely.
Position stuff. In the bands, they're using 2 bands on this. There's one band on most of the turntables.
That's correct.
Is the
RP8 is also 2 band.
Okay. Now the white band we know is a different resin, and
it's actually silicon, and the standard black bands that they have are a rubber compound. So the way this is extruded, it's an exceptionally fine surface finish, and that's what improves, again, transfer of vibration from the motor to the pulley. It really does dampen that out. And the reason for 2 belts is in case there's any slight variance or slight tolerance on the surface finish, 2 belts having slightly different finishes will cancel each other out or balance that out a lot better.
Every part that's made is just incredibly machined. If you get a chance to see these up close, every part of it is just incredibly beautiful. Obviously there's precision that goes into this. Every part of the turntable is made by Rega.
Yes, I mean, although like the actual plinth, they have an outside supplier that does it, because it's actually a foamed polyester of some sort. It's then covered in a phenolic resin skin to to stiffen it up and dampen it. So they're obviously done to Rega specifications, and it took them many years to get the formula right. But the Tonearms, again, they're cast in England, again, Rega's design. But the assembly of everything is done in-house at the factory. Cartridges, as I said, they make themselves. They do all the little termination of the Tonearm wires. They do all that in-house.
Another thing too, I mean, the importance of the Tonearm. A lot of when you look at a lot of turntable manufacturers, they'll tend to use longer arms. They'll try and increase the length of the arm. There's quite a reasonable consistency between that sort of dimension from end to front of the Rega product. So they don't look at that as being an important part?
It's probably the best compromise from getting sonics through the whole part of the record, not just the end or the middle or the inside. I know there are shorter, there are longer Tonearms which suit specific specific applications, but for general use we find that is the best overall length.
And it's incredibly light. There's just no weight in that arm.
No, that's correct. It's an aluminium casting. The thickness of the arm also varies as from front to back, and again that's designed to break up resonance, so it doesn't, if it's consistent, you'll get a certain resonance. As it varies, it'll break up the resonance internally. You also notice it's in a polished finish. It's just a bare polished finish. There's no lacquer, no paint. Again, that's for resonance control.
Amazing. In terms of setup of these turntables, they do come with the the cartridge pre-fitted?
Yes, it is.
Cases?
It is a factory option. You can get it without a cartridge at all if there's a particular cartridge that you'd like to use. Otherwise, they will come from the factory fitted with the Afita 2 cartridge, as we see here, and also an option of a much higher end cartridge called the Affilion.
Yeah. Yes, that'll be a nice addition as well.
Yes.
One of the things that is again very true to form is how simple it is to set up the Rega turntables. If you follow the basic steps, you almost can't get it wrong without any tools.
That's exactly
so
right.
Go from start to finish and get this working, which we're actually going to do. So you haven't got your fancy tool or scale with you?
I don't need it.
So we're going to set up. So let's finish putting it together. The mat they're using is also...
It's wool felt.
It is wool.
Yes.
It's even thinner than the...
Yes, it is.
The other mats.
It's thick enough to do its job of coupling the vinyl to the platter, but there's no need to have a super thick mat. Again, that will change resonance slightly as well.
Yeah.
So just enough to couple
do you have an opinion on cork mats versus the felt wool mats?
Look, I personally don't. Rega's philosophy is, as we've been saying all along, as light as possible. You know, lightness is key, and obviously cork will be heavier than the felt.
Oh, even that
but
much? That
yes,
little bit of
even that little difference. But you know, your mileage may vary, as they say, so there's no harm in trying. But in terms of clamps and stuff like that, they very much don't recommend it because it does put more load on the main bearing. So this one, obviously, being the high grade one, it comes with the tungsten counterweight. The standard one's a stainless steel.
Okay.
The advantage of a smaller counterweight is, again, it stores less energy. Even though it's the same weight, having less surface area stores less energy.
Okay.
So give it a little bit of friction. Now we have the weight on the side set to 0, but we also need to put the platter on first as well. And the mat. And essentially what we need to do is get the Tonearm to its neutral point. In other words, floating level with the stylus tip a couple of millimetres above the surface of the felt.
Yeah, just be careful with that stylus because it is expensive.
That's okay. Good thing is if I break it, I'll pay for it.
That's even better.
So again, we not bad straight off the bat. What we do every time we do an adjustment is give it a gentle bounce.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip.
Yeah, so basically what that does is just release any tension that you might have put on the bearings by forcing the counterweight on. And would you look at that straight off the bat? Absolutely perfect. Yes, I am just showing off, and it'll just swing back by itself, no problem whatsoever. So
that's basically 0?
That's basically, I can't believe I did that straight off the bat.
Yeah.
I should get a job at Rega.
No trickery of a video here?
Look at
Pretty
that,
good.
beautiful.
All right.
I could sit there all day and do that. You're never going to damage the stylus.
No, perfect.
All right, so once we've got it balanced perfectly, we'll now apply the weight. Now this is a spring-loaded scale, so as you're turning it, you're tensioning a spring which puts weight on the nose. This particular cartridge is designed for a weight of 1.75 to 2 grams, so we shall do that. There's a scale on the side, that's 1.5, there's 2, let's go back a little bit, and that's pretty much right, about 1.8.
Okay, so 1.75 to 2, that's still a fairly reasonable tolerance.
Yes.
When do you use your own common sense to add a bit more weight to it?
First thing, we'd let this run in for about a month or so, and then start having a critical listen. If it sounds like it's a little bit slow and heavy, then obviously we just back the weight off slightly.
Yep.
If it sounds really lean and light in the bass, then we might add a little bit of weight on. But it's only a very subtle difference, you'll find. We then need to set the anti-skate as well, which is, it's a magnetic anti-skate. I'm not sure how clear that is, but there's 2 grooves that are machined into this. So generally, whatever the weight is with Rega cartridges, we will set the anti-skate to the same level. So as you start moving this in, you'll hit groove number 1, that's 1 on the scale. Groove number 2 is 2. And the same thing, we just want to pull it back a slight amount. to basically equal what the weight is.
Weight is.
And what that is doing is making sure that while the needle is in the groove and the record's spinning, and it's important that the record is spinning, it's centering that stylus tip in the groove.
Excellent.
And that's it, we are set.
And the cartridge is already
Cartridge is
installed.
pre-aligned at the factory. Yes.
You'll notice that there are they still use their three mounting poles.
Exactly. So getting the alignments wrong is nigh on impossible. But also having the 3 mounting points also couples the cartridge body to the tone arm better than just having 2. And there's a fair bit of torque that's actually applied to these. From memory, it's 4 newtons of torque.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
I was selling hi-fi products to friends, and the turntables that I used to buy used to arrive broken. As a naive young engineer, I just assumed I could make something quicker than I could repair the broken turntables. And that started the company.